Thousands of years ago, across the jagged deserts and the shimmering sea, a queen embarked on a journey that would ripple through history, legend, and faith. She was called Makeda by some, Bilqis or Balkis by others, and Sheba in the grand biblical tales. She carried gold, spices, riddles, and an intellect sharpened like the finest blade. Her destination? The opulent court of King Solomon in Jerusalem, the wisest of all kings. What followed was not just a meeting of monarchs, but a clash and fusion of civilizations. Yet before we imagine that caravan glinting under the desert sun, we must ask, where did this queen come from? What was the kingdom of Saba, the so-called golden land of the Queen of Sheba, and what truths hide beneath the sands?
Where in the world was Saba? Pinpointing the seat of the Queen of Sheba's power is like chasing a mirage. It seems just within reach, yet the closer we get, the more it wavers. Was it in southern Arabia, in the land we now call Yemen? Or was it in Ethiopia, across the Red Sea, where Makeda is still revered as the mother of a nation? Some even whisper of connections reaching into West Africa, though evidence for that remains as elusive as desert rain. If archaeologists had to bet their careers, Yemen would be the favored horse. There stands Marib, the ancient city of the Sabaeans, guarded by the remnants of the mighty Marib Dam, a marvel of engineering that once tamed desert floods into life-giving water. Stone inscriptions in the Sabaean language declare, "We were here," with the proud permanence of chiseled rock. But across the sea in Ethiopia, the story burns bright with cultural pride. According to the Kebra Nagast, Ethiopia's national epic, it was Makeda, Queen of Sheba, who crossed the sea, tested Solomon's wisdom, and left Jerusalem carrying not just treasure, but his child, Menelik I, founder of Ethiopia's Solomonic dynasty. To Ethiopians, this is no mere story. It is blood, legacy, and divine right. Perhaps the truth is that Saba was not confined to single shore. Maybe it straddled the Red Sea, commanding ports and trade routes that connected Arabia, Africa, and beyond. Its people as varied as the goods they carried.
If we could walk the streets of ancient Saba, what would we see? Imagine a kingdom etched into a harsh landscape. Semi-arid, ringed by craggy mountains and valleys baked under a relentless sun. Life here was a triumph of ingenuity. The Marib Dam was the heart of it, capturing rains and channeling water to terraced farms that clawed into the hillsides. Wheat, barley, dates, and grapes grew where otherwise only dust might reign. Cities like Marib and Sirwa stood as fortified stone bastions, enduring the battering desert winds. Sun-bleached and practical, these settlements housed bustling markets where Egyptian papyrus, Indian spices, and African ivory changed hands. At the center of it all stood temples to the sun and moon gods, their stone facades echoing prayers to celestial powers. This was no tent city of fleeting wealth. This was permanence, architecture and trade routes designed not just to survive, but to dominate. Who were the Sabaeans? What color was the skin of Saba's people? A question modern eyes ask, but one that ancient Sabaeans likely found irrelevant. Lineage, faith, and allegiance mattered more than complexion. Yet geography speaks. Positioned where Africa meets Arabia, Saba was a crossroads. To the west, Ethiopians and Nubians, dark-skinned and proud, immortalized in Egyptian art. To the north and east, the Semitic peoples of Arabia, sun-kissed in tones of brown, resilient against the desert's glare. Add the traders from India, the Levant, and East Africa, and you have a cosmopolitan mix of features and hues. So, were they black, brown, both? The Sabaeans likely bore the genetic signatures of Africa, Arabia, and beyond, a tapestry of humanity woven by trade, conquest, and marriage. Now, picture the Queen of Sheba's retinue, an endless procession of camels heavy with gold, spices, frankincense, and myrrh shimmering like a golden serpent across the sands. But these weren't mere beasts of burden. They were moving symbols of power and reach. Her attendants, scholars, priests, artisans, formed a mobile court, diverse in appearance and attire, their fabrics bright as sunlit silk. Armed guards, with weapons glinting, ensured no bandit dared to dream of an ambush. This was no idle journey. It was a diplomatic theater, a visual declaration that Saba was rich, sophisticated, and not to be trifled with. For Solomon and the Israelites, the sight would have been breathtaking.
Imagine the moment. Makeda, eyes sharp as desert thorns, steps into Solomon's palace. Jerusalem's golden rooftops reflect the midday sun, but neither king nor queen is dazzled by surface splendor. They are here to measure minds. The Bible says she came with hard questions, testing Solomon's famed wisdom. And though he impressed her, surely she too left an impression. Here stood a woman who ruled her land as sovereign, not as consort. In Solomon's court, where women were cloistered and status-bound, her presence was both alien and exhilarating. Their courts were studies in contrast. Solomon's kingdom, with its monotheistic rigidity, stood opposite Makeda's Saba, where the sun was sacred and incense bridged mortals to the divine. The queen's garments likely bloomed in reds and golds, her neck heavy with gems, a stark counterpoint to the Israelites' earth-toned flax and wool. Even the Quran offers a scene. Solomon unveils his palace floor, so polished that Makeda lifts her robes thinking it water. He reveals the truth, it's glass. A metaphor, perhaps, for transparency, for cutting through illusions. Did she learn from Solomon? Did he learn from her? The stories don't say, but mutual respect blossomed, the way rare flowers bloom, even in a desert. Is there proof she ever came? Here's where the trail blurs. The Bible, Quran, and the Kebra Nagast all insist she came, bringing wealth and wisdom. Yet archaeology offers only shadows. In Yemen's Marib, the ruins of the Makram Bilqis, the Temple of Bilqis, stand mute, yet evocative. Coins, inscriptions, and Assyrian records mention Sabaean kings, trade routes, and wealth, but no explicit scroll names Makeda herself. Still, Saba's control of the incense route, its links to Egypt, Mesopotamia, and the Levant, make it entirely plausible. After all, the first temple rituals in Jerusalem prized incense that almost certainly came from Saba's domains. Whether or not Makeda's sandals ever touched Jerusalem's stones, her story endures because it tells us what we hunger to believe. That there was a time when kingdoms met not just in war, but in words. That a woman could cross seas and sands, not to kneel, but to stand equal before one of history's wisest kings. The Queen of Sheba remains undefeated. She lives in biblical verses, in Ethiopian bloodlines, in Quranic tales, and in every archaeological dig that scrapes the dust for her footprints. Long after her caravan vanished beyond the horizon, she reminds us that legends may blur with history, but their power, like the lingering scent of frankincense, never fades.